My wife found antidepressants in my jacket pocket and assumed the worst about our marriage. The pills were for my father, who was too proud to fill his own prescription, but Sarah didn't know that. All she knew was what she was holding, an orange prescription bottle with someone else's name on the label hidden in her husband's coat. "How long have you been taking these?" she asked quietly. I just walked through the door from work. The kids were upstairs doing homework. Dinner sat half finished on the counter, chicken parmesan, my favorite, abandoned mid-preparation. "Sarah, those aren't mine. Let me explain." "Not yours?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "They were in your pocket. Your name isn't on the bottle because you're hiding them from me. How long have you been depressed without telling me?" "I'm not depressed. Those belong to my father. I've been picking them up for him because he's too embarrassed to do it himself." She stared at me, searching my face for something, truth maybe, or the lie she expected to find. Then she shook her head. "I can't believe you'd lie to me about this too." That's when everything fell apart. Sarah and I had been married for 9 years. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party in 2014, one of those backyard barbecues where you end up talking to a stranger by the cooler, and suddenly, it's 3 hours later. She was a 4th grade teacher with a laugh that made everyone around her smile. I was an IT project manager who couldn't believe someone like her was actually interested in someone like me. We got married 18 months later, had Emma when we were both 30, she's 7 now. Then Lucas came along 2 years after that. We bought a house in the suburbs with a mortgage that would outlive us both, built careers, built routines, built a life. I thought we told each other everything. I thought our communication was solid and unbreakable. I was wrong about one important thing. My father called me 3 months ago, crying for the first time in my entire life. I was at work when my phone buzzed. I almost sent it to voicemail. I was in the middle of a budget review, but something made me step into the hallway and answer. "Michael?" His voice was wrong, thin, broken. "Dad, what's going on? I need to talk to you. Can you come over after work? Is everything okay? Just come, please, son, and don't tell your sister." I left work early, drove the 30 minutes to his house, the same split-level ranch I'd grown up in, now too big and too quiet since Mom died 8 months ago from ovarian cancer. Dad was sitting in the living room when I arrived, TV off, curtains drawn. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. "Dad, what's happening?" He couldn't look at me when he said it. "The doctor says I have severe depression. After your mother died, I couldn't keep going." He paused. His hands were trembling in his lap. "He prescribed medication, but I can't do it, son. I can't walk into a pharmacy and admit I need help. There's nothing wrong with needing help. I'm not weak." His voice cracked. "I've never needed pills for anything except blood pressure. If my friends at the VFW found out, if the guys at church knew that Frank Morrison was taking antidepressants because he can't handle his wife dying, nobody has to know." He looked up at me then, eyes red-rimmed, desperate. "Can you pick them up for me? The prescription is at Walgreens. They have my insurance on file. Just tell them you're my son." He swallowed hard. "Please, just this one thing." Dad was 72 years old. He'd served in Vietnam, built a plumbing business from nothing, raised 3 kids while working 70-hour weeks. He came from a generation that didn't talk about mental health, that saw depression as weakness, that pushed through everything with silence and grit. Asking me for this was the hardest thing he'd ever done. I couldn't say no. So I started picking up his prescription every month. The pharmacist, a kind woman named Linda Chen, who'd worked there for 15 years, understood when I explained the situation. "Happens more than you'd think," she said, sliding the bottle across the counter. "A lot of older patients have family pick up their medications. As long as you can verify his date of birth and address, there's no problem." I kept the pills in my jacket pocket until I could drive them to Dad's house. Usually the same day, but sometimes work ran late and they'd stay in my coat overnight. It became our secret routine, a small act of love that nobody else needed to know about. I didn't tell Sarah because Dad had asked me not to. His shame was real, deep, and consuming. He wasn't ready for anyone to know, not even his own daughter-in-law. It wasn't my secret to share. At least, that's what I told myself. Then Sarah found the bottle. She was looking for my car keys. I'd asked her to move my car so the landscapers could get to the backyard. She reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out an orange prescription container. Her face went pale. "How long have you been taking these?" she asked when I walked through the door. "Sarah, those aren't mine. They were in your pocket. They're my father's. I've been picking them up for him because he's too ashamed to do it himself." She turned the bottle over. "Read the label. Frank Morrison, your father." "Yes. And you've been hiding them in your jacket for how long?" 3 months. Since his doctor prescribed them. 3 months. She set the bottle on the counter, carefully, like it might explode. "You've been keeping a secret from me for 3 months. It wasn't my secret to tell." "Whose secret was it?" "Dad's. He didn't want anyone to know. He's ashamed." "So you lied to me." "I didn't lie. You kept something from me. For 3 months. That's the same thing." Her voice was rising now. "What else haven't you told me? What else are you hiding?" "Nothing. This is it." "How am I supposed to believe that?" Tears were forming in her eyes. "I find pills hidden in your coat, and you expect me to just accept your explanation? Because it's the truth." "The truth?" She laughed bitterly. "The truth is, you looked me in the eye every single day for 3 months and chose not to tell me something important. How do I know there isn't something bigger? How do I know you're not having an affair?" The word hit me like a punch. An affair? Sarah, how did you get from antidepressants to an affair? Because people who keep secrets keep other secrets. Because when I found those pills, my first thought was, oh God, my husband is struggling and didn't tell me. I was ready to support you, to help you through whatever you were dealing with. She was crying now. But then you said they weren't yours, and now I don't know what to believe. Believe me, believe your husband. I want to. I really want to. She wiped her eyes. But you've been lying to me for 3 months. How am I supposed to trust anything you say? She walked out of the kitchen. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, the guest room door closing, the lock clicking. I stood alone in the kitchen, staring at the bottle that had just detonated my marriage. The next 2 days were hell. Sarah didn't sleep in our bed. She stayed in the guest room with the door locked, texting her sister, crying through the walls. The kids noticed immediately. Why is mommy sleeping in the other room? Emma asked at breakfast. She's not feeling well, sweetheart. Is she mad at you? We're working through something. It'll be okay. I didn't know if that was true. Lucas asked the question I was dreading. Are you and mommy getting divorced? Nobody. We're just talking things out. He didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. He was 5 years old and already preparing himself for the worst. I tried everything. I pulled up my phone records. No suspicious calls. I offered Sarah all my passwords, email, social media, bank accounts. I'm not going through your phone like some paranoid wife, she said. That's not the point. Then what is the point? The point is that you kept something from me, something important, and now I don't know if I can trust you. Because of my father's medication? Because of 3 months of silence? Her voice broke. Were we ever really happy, or have you been pretending this whole time? Sarah, please. I need time. I need to think about whether this marriage is worth saving. She closed the guest room door in my face. On day 2, she called a divorce lawyer. I know because I overheard her on the phone, asking about consultations, about custody arrangements, about how to protect assets if we separated. My wife of 9 years was preparing to leave me, over a secret I'd kept to protect my father. That night, I called Dad. She found the pills, I said. Sarah found the prescription. Silence on the other end. She doesn't believe me. She thinks I'm hiding something worse. She's talking to divorce lawyers, Dad. She thinks our marriage is over. Still, when he finally spoke, his voice was heavy with shame. Tell her the truth. All of it. I never wanted my problems to hurt your family. She doesn't believe me when I tell her. Then I'll tell her myself. He paused. I should have done this months ago. Keeping this secret was selfish. I was so worried about my shame that I didn't think about what it might cost you. Dad, I'm coming over tomorrow night. I'll talk to Sarah. Whatever I have to say to fix this, I'll say it. He hung up before I could argue. Dad drove over the next evening. He pulled into our driveway at 7:30 p.m. I watched him get out of his old Ford pickup, moving slowly, like a man carrying an invisible weight. He was wearing his Sunday clothes, khakis, and a button-down shirt. He'd shaved, combed what was left of his hair. He'd made himself presentable to confess his deepest shame. Sarah was in the living room when I brought him inside. She looked up from the couch, surprised. Frank, what are you doing here? Can I sit down? He asked. I need to explain something. She glanced at me. I nodded. We sat in the living room, Dad in the armchair that had been his spot at every family gathering since we moved in. Sarah on the couch, me beside her, close but not touching. Dad folded his hands in his lap. Sarah, those pills you found belong to me. Michael already told me that. I know. And I know you don't believe him. He took a breath. But I'm asking you to believe me, because everything he told you is true. He looked at his hands. When he spoke again, his voice was unsteady. After Margaret died, I fell apart. Not on the outside. On the outside, I kept going to church, kept showing up at family dinners, kept pretending everything was fine. But inside, he stopped, swallowed. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Some mornings, I couldn't get out of bed. I'd just lie there, staring at her pillow, waiting for her to come back. Sarah's expression softened. I went to my doctor because I thought I was having heart problems, chest pains, shortness of breath. Turns out my heart was fine. His voice cracked. It was my head that was broken. He said I had severe depression. He wanted to prescribe medication. He looked up at Sarah. I've never taken pills for anything like this. I grew up in a time when men didn't admit to being sad, when needing help meant you were weak, when you pushed through everything and never complained. Frank, I couldn't walk into a pharmacy and admit I needed antidepressants. I couldn't let my friends know. The guys I've known for 40 years, if they found out Frank Morrison was taking pills because he couldn't handle losing his wife, he shook his head. So, I asked Michael to pick them up for me. I made him promise not to tell anyone, not even you. His voice broke. That was wrong. I was so worried about my own shame that I put a secret between you and your husband. I risked your marriage to protect my pride. He started to cry. I'd never seen my father cry. Not at Mom's funeral. Not when his own father died. Not once in my entire 42 years of life. But he cried now. Real tears, streaming down his weathered face. His shoulders shook. He covered his eyes with his hand, like he was ashamed to let us see. I miss her so much, he said. every single day. I wake up and reach for her and she's not there. I go to the grocery store and buy her favorite ice cream because I forget. I started to call her last week to tell her something funny, Emma said, and I had the phone in my hand before I remembered. Sarah was crying now too. I've been so scared that if anyone found out I was struggling, they'd think less of me, think I was weak, think Margaret would be disappointed. He wiped his face with his sleeve. But watching my secret almost destroy my son's marriage, it made me realize that the shame was hurting me more than the grief ever could. Sarah reached across and took his hand. Frank, there's nothing weak about grieving your wife. 47 years of marriage, that's not something you just get over. I know that in my head. But in here, he pressed his hand to his chest. In here, I still feel like I failed her. You didn't fail anyone. You're human. And you asked for help. That takes courage. He squeezed her hand. I'm so sorry, Sarah, for putting this burden on Michael, for making him keep secrets from you, for almost costing you your marriage because I was too proud to walk into a pharmacy. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked at me. I'm sorry too, she said. I jumped to the worst conclusion without giving you a chance to explain. I should have trusted you. You found pills hidden in my jacket. Your reaction was understandable. But I asked if you were having an affair. I was ready to walk away from 9 years of marriage over something that turned out to be love. Love for your father. I should have told you. I should have trusted you with his secret. We both should have done things differently. She took my hand with her free one, still holding Dad's with the other. But we're here now, and we can fix this. We talked for 3 more hours that night. About depression, about grief, about the shame that Dad's generation carried around mental health, about communication and trust, and the dangerous weight of secrets. Dad told Sarah things he'd never told anyone about the darkness that swallowed him after Mom died, about the mornings he couldn't find a reason to get out of bed, about the fear that he'd never feel whole again. Sarah listened without judgment. By the end, they were both crying and hugging, and something had shifted in the room. Dad had exposed his deepest vulnerability, and instead of destroying him, it had healed something. We started couples therapy the following week. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, 18 years of practice, specializing in communication and trust issues. She helped us understand what had really happened, not just the crisis, but the patterns that made the crisis possible. You both retreated into silence, she explained during our 3rd session. Michael, you kept the secret to protect your father, but also to avoid facing his pain. Sarah, you assumed the worst because you'd been feeling disconnected and didn't know how to ask for reassurance. I didn't realize how disconnected we'd become, Sarah admitted. That's common with young children and demanding careers. You're so busy surviving day to day that you forget to actually talk to each other. Dr. Martinez leaned forward. The secret didn't cause your problems. It revealed them. Dad joined a support group for widowers the following month. It was called New Horizons, run by a hospice organization in his area. 12 men, all over 60, all learning to live without their wives. It's strange, he told me after his first meeting, talking about your mother with people who understand. I thought it would be impossible, but it was actually easier. I'm proud of you, Dad. I should have done this 8 months ago, but I was so convinced that asking for help meant I was weak. He shook his head. Watching my secret almost destroy your marriage changed something in me, made me realize that the shame was the real enemy. He started talking about Mom openly after that, at family dinners, at church, with his friends at the VFW. Ed Kowalski lost his wife 3 years ago, he told me. He said he was on medication for 2 years and never told anyone. Said watching me talk about it made him feel like he could finally breathe. The shame wasn't just his. It belonged to a whole generation, and Dad was helping break it. Sarah and I are stronger now than we were before. The crisis forced us to examine our marriage in ways we'd been avoiding, the assumptions we made instead of questions, the distance that had grown between us, the silences we'd filled with television instead of conversation. We check in with each other every night now. Small questions. How are you really? What do you need from me? Is there anything on your mind? It's not dramatic, but it's changed everything. I still pick up Dad's prescription every month, but now Sarah comes with me sometimes. We drive to his house together, bring him dinner, sit with him while he talks about missing Mom. Last week, he showed us old photo albums, pictures from his wedding day, from family vacations, from ordinary Tuesday nights that he'd somehow thought to capture on film. She hated having her picture taken, he said, touching a photo of Mom laughing at something off camera, but I kept doing it anyway. Now I'm grateful for every single one. Sarah squeezed his hand. She was beautiful. She was everything. Some secrets are kept out of love. I kept Dad's secret because I loved him and wanted to protect him from shame. He kept his depression hidden because he loved us and didn't want to be a burden. But love works better in the open. Dad taught us both that lesson the hard way. Emma asked me last month why Grandpa seems happier lately. He's been talking to people about missing Grandma, I told her. Sometimes that helps when you're sad. Like when I talk to you when I'm sad? Exactly like that. She thought about it. I'm glad Grandpa has people to talk to. Me too, sweetheart, me too. The prescription bottle still sits in my jacket pocket once a month. But now Sarah knows. Now Dad isn't ashamed. Now we all understand that secrets don't protect the people we love. They just make everyone feel alone. Love works better in the open. We learned that the hard way, but we learned it together, and that made all the difference.